All right, so we'll get started. Thanks again for those that called in, and we're expecting a few more to join us in the next few minutes. It's Thursday, May 17, 2018. This is our Fast Track Team Mastermind, and we're very excited for this particular mastermind because it's the second time that we're having an open house. And for today, we have our special guest, Marcin Marczak. Chris and I first met Marcin in Jamaica. That was during the Diamond Mastermind in May of 2016. And he really made a great impression, Marcin and his wife, Marie, because they did present on stage. And Matt Lloyd, the CEO of Mob, recognized the fact that they've accomplished a lot with a very modest advertising budget. So we're very excited. We've asked Marcin to share with us some practical tips and strategies that many of us can hopefully apply immediately as we grow our online business. We've asked Marcin to briefly introduce himself as well, and then I don't know, Marcin, if you have some presentation that you would like to cover, but at the same time, we'd like to have a really interactive mastermind today. Answer a lot of questions from our callers, and we've also prepared some questions in case our participants need some time to warm up with their questions. So, Marcin, without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to you, and maybe if you can add more background and introduce yourself.
Hey, Gil. Thank you very much for the lovely intro, and so great to hear your voice. And thank you very much for the opportunity of being here. So I would just want to welcome everyone who is on the call. I'm really excited about today. I'll be sharing some strategy that has worked for us. And also, I want to tell you, like, what a blessed leaders, guys, you have. Chris and Gil, I mean, I'm observing, watching you I'm part of the Facebook group that you do, and I love how you look after the community, how you add value, and how you, go above and beyond to add the value, because that's, at the end of the day, this business is about leadership. And when I see somebody who is doing so much, that really stands out. So that's amazing.
Thanks, Marcin. Would you like me to assign you as the presenter role?
Okay, cool. So I've got some slides that normally I use, so I can just do a quick intro, and I can just, probably I'm not gonna bore too much with my story, just to, okay, I think I have to add some extension. Okay, I think it works. And so I'm just gonna do a quick intro, like maybe 2-3 minutes, and then we can just jump into strategies and something that will be practical, and anyone who is on the line can benefit from that. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Yep.
Will that work? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So where do we start? Yeah, when I came to this business, I was desperate. We came out of a bad business experience when we started building Mob. We had massive debts. We carried on our credit cards around $50,000 debt. Then we also borrow additional money in order to position ourselves, and so altogether was over $100,000. And we had so many credit cards, we barely could breathe, and we couldn't make the minimum payments on them. And when we came to this business, I mean, we were so maxed out that we were not able, I mean, we struggled to buy silver. And then there was a season where we had to cut down all possible costs in order to be able to, move forward. And there was a season where we had to pay off our debts month by month. And that was the time when we needed to tighten lots of our expenses. But then I remember our very first mastermind, it was in Phuket in Thailand. We attended, and Matt spoke from stage, and he said that if you follow these 3 steps, you will make $100,000. And I tell you, these words were like electrifying. They just spoke to me so much. I grabbed them, I held them in my heart, I believed that, I took massive action, and and soon after, it became reality. Then it went from there. So just briefly, my story, I mean, I come from Poland, just outside of Poland. At the age of 20, I had a dream. I wanted to study abroad, but it was extremely expensive to fly from Poland. So we couldn't do that as a family. So I On the 5th of March 2001, I borrowed some money, I raised some money, and I moved to London. And while being in London, I had to do lots of random things in order to support myself. So some of you might be able to relate to that. Maybe you're doing more part-time and you are doing something else on the side. And I remember personally working for a Spanish restaurant called Churreria Española. It was not far from Hyde Park in a place called Queensway. They sell churros, they sell chocolate. So imagine you were in the restaurant, you had your food, your paella, you walk away, pay the bill, and I was the guy who was doing washing up dishes. That was my first job. Then I've done gardening, painting, decorating, waitering, taxi driving, fixing computers, and selling houses as well. So I had to do lots of things in order to survive. So that's the attitude I would like to encourage you to have. Do whatever it takes. And I see Chris and Gil, I mean, guys, the way you build business, how you go above and beyond with your marketing, with looking after the team, that's the attitude, right? Doing whatever it takes. And that's what I love about you. And I remember like genesis of our strategies was like right now when I look back at the season when we were, when I was here at uni, I had to stretch my resources. I would take like £1 and stretch it like a chewing gum. So I would just basically step into a store and buy those cheap items. I mean, I wouldn't recommend them. They're not healthy, but there was a season where I had to tighten it up. So I had to do a lot with a little. And that's what good follow-up is about. You have few leads and you do a lot with these few leads, right? So probably today I will expand on that a little bit more. And then we went to Asia. So we kind of moved. I mean, I was bored, tired, exhausted. My wife was stressed out working for the corporate London, and we had enough. So we bought one-way ticket. We did the crazy stuff. We took a leap of faith, one-way ticket to Asia. And we landed in a place called Maldives, where Mari is from. So we moved to a nearby island called Hulumale, found an apartment connected to the internet, and we started our journey. Then we moved to Malaysia, stayed there for around 7 years, and right now we are back in UK. So that would be briefly the journey, a little bit of introduction, and I hope there are some people who can relate, connect with some of the pieces from the story. And Chris, Gil, can you hear me? Like, would you like me to continue with some sharing, or shall we do it more a Q&A format?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we could start with some of the questions that we have prepared. And then
Okay.
I would encourage folks that are in the call, if you have, a follow-up question or something that, caught your interest, just unmute yourself, because this is really an open house, right? So we want people to really ask the burning questions that they want answered for themselves, because those are the relevant questions that would help you grow your business. So let me just grab the presenter role from you. And then I'll just share. Hold on. Okay. So we have a set of questions that we'll go through, but of course, as much as possible, if we can get live questions from people in the call, then that will be great. So we have here our first question, Marcin. Obviously, you've earned close to $500,000 already in paid commissions from Bob, right? But what's amazing from that achievement is you've kept your advertising spend to a minimum. Can you share more on how you achieved this?
Okay, so yeah, we crossed over 500,000, and basically the secret behind that was, I can grab maybe a screen here. Let me just say, if you can make me a presenter, so I can kind of expand a little bit on the concept, and I'm just gonna take a whiteboard.
Okay.
And
hold on.
we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I like to show something that I like to refer as it is a reverse triangle. Most people spend fortune on the front end, and they really focus strongly on the front end. So that's why you have the leads here, there you have MTTBs here, right, HBSs and so on, and then slowly, gradually, some of them, they'll be upgrading. And our story was, I mean, I couldn't afford much leads, so the very few leads that we had, so we learned to look after them. Then the same also with buyers. Like I see so many people who get so many buyers and they do not work with them to get them started. So like just simply because our lack of resources, we had to do a lot with what we had here, and that was actually quite an amazing experience. Just simply because we had to learn to build a relationship, connect with people, listen to people, identify what's holding them back, identify the key challenges and issues that they might have right now. And once we have done that, that helped us to help lots of people become successful. And when these people became successful, automatically two things happen. One of those things you get either pass-ups or you get upgrades, or sometimes you get the two together. Normally, if you get the pass-up, the upgrade follows from that. And that seems to be kind of a different way of doing things. So I like to do this reverse triangle where you get the few leads and you work your way in and you help them out. So to present it the other way around, like most people try to do very strong, very wide front end. They bring like 20 buyers a week or something, right? They bring a lot of buyers, but they do very little with the back end here. So we decided to do, I mean, we kind of didn't have much choice. So being in our position where we were, we decided to look after what we had here and take them as much as possible to grow forward. So that would be more from a purely strategic perspective, just breaking down into what we can do. And obviously we can go more into how do we help those people, right? Number one, people who are not upgrading, I mean, we can break it down also to different levels. So at the beginning we have a lead, and then we have a buyer, right? Then we have a silver, let's say titanium, platinum, and diamond. And I can just show you a couple of ways why people upgrade and how people upgrade. So at the very beginning there is a lead. Lead is just overwhelmed with lots of different emails. They have inboxes with probably thousands and thousands of emails. And what they're looking for certainty, right? Once they get the certainty, they say, okay, cool, I give it a shot, I buy. But the certainty could come from a couple of places, from personal touch. It could come from a place of giving them a bonus, scarcity, right? They have to have a reason to move, right? That's why we talk about the irresistible offer here. And so once a lead becomes a buyer, then buyer is not really a decision. Like in my opinion, buyer is more let me try, right? It's a $49 purchase with 30 days money back guarantee. So the person can pull out anytime they want, and they say, no, it's not for me, I want my money back. And that's absolutely fine, because that's not how you're going to build this business. It is more like an introduction, and that's what we want people to have that option, right? I would be uncomfortable saying, hey, go and position yourself as a diamond, and I promise you will be very successful. We can't promise that, and in my opinion, it's not ethical. So what I prefer that people come in at the front end, they get a taste, and we have to look after them. We have to deliver, ideally over-deliver. And buyer has a primary fear. So the buyer said, okay, I will try that, right? So they work with a coach, they see how it is, etc. But they have a fear. The fear number one, it is a scam, right? This is a really common thing. If you don't overcome that, you don't have a silver, right? So these would be the key things. So we have to think of strategies, how to overcome those barriers, because they really hold them back. Has it answered the question?
Yes, very much. Thanks for answering that question, Marcin. I think a lot of the follow-up questions will go back to the same theme that you have shared. So maybe I'll just keep on going. And if anyone has a follow-up question or clarification, again, I encourage you just unmute yourself. Or if you want, you can also type in the chat window. Okay. So I'll move on to the second question, Marcin. Which one would you recommend to prioritize for a MOB newbie? Is it promoting the IMF workshops or the 21 steps? And why or why not?
Okay. So that's a really great question because yes, I do see people stepping into promoting IMF events and burning themselves out fast, and they're just getting, hey, it doesn't work for me. I wasted so much money, and especially people who have spent money positioning themselves, uh, and then they have to spend aggressively in order to make anything out of IMF because currently the cost of advertising for IMF is around $30. So if you want to have the business working for you, I always say you have to have minimum 100 leads. So if you don't have 100 leads, you don't have a business. So let's do the math. $30 times 100 leads equals how much? $3,000. So that's quite an aggressive advertising, and that's assuming that you are pretty decent with Facebook advertising. But as we know, anyone who is starting, they are not decent. They're gonna make mistakes, and they're gonna pay a little bit more. They're gonna do some campaigns. They will not respond fast enough with trimming the ads, etc., and the cost most likely will be a little bit higher. So it all depends on where you are. So if you are in a place where you are comfortable with more aggressive advertising, you can go for IMF because the IMF funnel converts. But there is also a different way of thinking. If you are a little bit more risk averse, and if you are a little bit more, working with a tighter budget, I would recommend start first with running a MTTB 21-step program campaign on Facebook, because simply the cost per lead reduces like by 6, right? 6 is several times cheaper. So, for example, you should be able to get a lead for let's say Wi-Fi or laptop lifestyle or any other 21 steps for something between $3 to $5, and that gets you to a place of confidence where you learn to advertise, where you learn to use the tool, and also you learn to follow up. So you learn to understand the business, because there's nothing more fearful than you spend fortune positioning yourself, then you spend fortune on advertising, and you are learning and making mistakes, and these mistakes are costly. So yeah, I would personally adjust it according to where is your situation and what's your preference for taking more kind of, how do you handle fear, because these things will determine.
Right. Um, we've maybe this is a follow-up question, Martins, because a lot of a lot of times we've heard that the fastest way to grow your business is through promoting the IMF workshop, right? Because there's a lot of events happening all over the world, and once you get the skill of promoting and getting people to the event, it's more predictable, right? Because usually
Mm-hmm.
after about a week or two, there's going to be the home business summit, so you can actually predict your cash flow. um, if you're on a limited, advertising budget, and you still want to promote the IMF workshop, how can you make it happen? Like, if I relate it back to your answer to the question number one, how can you increase your chances of a person positioning in any of the masterclass or the masterminds using,
Mm-hmm.
the strategy that you shared in question number one?
Okay, so could I get the screen again? So, because I'm a visual guy, so I like to
Oh, okay.
draw some things.
All right.
Yeah,
Hold on.
let me
Let
just pull
me.
back there.
Yeah, I'll make you presenter role again. Okay.
Oh, thank you. So if somebody is working on a limited budget and wants to promote IMF events, so there are a couple of ways, right? One of them could be free strategies, and that includes a bunch of things. Like, for example, let me just show you. Uh, let's do. Let's open. Let's choose an event, right? So we have an event, for example. Let's take New York, and we type New York business event. Right? So you want to see what shows up on the first page, and you want to check then if there's any way you can place your ad. So, for example, we have Eventbrite here. Eventbrite right now recently became extremely saturated, so that's kind of becomes a little bit of tougher place, kind of place to go after. But still, I know that some people are doing that. Okay, Virgin is having some problem here. There are corporate events. You just have to check this website if there is a way you can place ads. right? So what we're doing, you can either do it with money or you can do it with time, right? You have to pay. There's a way that you have to pay that, one or the other way. So for example, you can do the free strategies. Another one is people do joint ventures. Connect with somebody who has a list, right? And split the profit 50-50. I have a student in my group. He made over $30,000 and he reached out to a couple of people who had bigger list, and he got himself a platinum. And the lady actually recently positioned herself as a diamond. So that's also a strategy where you can do on a low budget. Another strategy that you can do, I mean, you can obviously get, for example, imagine you have $500 to spend, right? So if you would get, with $500, for easy calculation, let's call it 600. So you're gonna get 20 leads. And we know that statistically, only around 20% of those people will attend. Yeah, 20% of the people will attend. So we're talking about 4 people, and only around 20 to 25% of people will buy. So potentially, subject to the quality of the follow-up and subject to the quality of the leads, you have one sale out of this $500 that you have, if you're lucky, right? Because that's not guaranteed. As I mentioned, subject to the quality leads and subject to the quality of the follow-up. But what you can do, you have here still, look at that, you've got 16 people that didn't attend, and you have 3 people that attended and didn't buy. So that's where the follow-up comes in, because most people, what they do, so they do, for example, 100 leads, they pay $3,000 for that, and they have 20 people attending, they have, let's say, 4 people buying. Again, that all depends on your targeting and follow-up, but they leave here 16 people who attended and 96 people who didn't buy, or 80 people who didn't attend, right? These people, I mean, most of them, they register on everything and they're not necessarily good prospects. But out of that, there is a percentage, let's say 10 to 20 people, they are seriously looking for something right now. So, some of these people, not necessarily, they just register for lots of things. So you got to be filtering that out. So if you're working on a small budget, you have to be creative. I've learned that from one of my mentors, that your creativity level will determine your income level, and that would be definitely one of the ways to do it.
Okay. Thanks, Marcin.
No
Um,
problem.
any follow-up questions from the callers before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, if you guys want to grab a microphone or something and we can have a chat, that might be a little better. I think there's something coming in.
Hold on. Is there a chat? Let me just see.
Yeah. How do you help your leads eventually overcome their fears and decide to buy at least silver? Okay, so this will depend. Can I go right into the question?
Yep, yep, go ahead.
So this will depend on a couple of things. So the first outcome that we want to have is we want to connect our lead with a coach, because that automatically creates goodwill and that increases probability of winning, right? I wouldn't step in, I wouldn't interfere with the coaches, but saying hello, introducing yourself, and saying, for example, excuse me, once you finish the 21 steps, you will be working with me directly. That's something that that is already going a long way. If you call them and if you're not expecting to sell anything, but just say hello, introduce yourself, and explain a little bit the process that, hey, by now you should be working with a private coach. Do you have a coach? Oh, no, I don't. Okay, cool. Let me sort it out for you. What's your best email? Cool. You get that email. You CC them on that email. You message support. That goes a long way. You created goodwill. And things like that, they will do it. Will they buy silver eventually? I don't know. Hard to say, because obviously it depends on their personal circumstances. But we are playing a game of increasing probability. So that would be one of the ways.
All right. I hope Arnell and Ann, actually a question came from Arnell and Ann, right? I hope that answered your question. In case you have any follow-up, just feel free to type on the chat window or unmute yourself. I'll move on to the next question, Marcin.
Okay.
Can you share some practical tips and strategies to get the most from your advertising budget when promoting the IMF workshops to achieve the highest possible ROI? I think you probably covered this a bit, but is there anything else that you want to add on besides from what you've just shared?
Right. So do I have the screen again? Because sorry, I just. Oh yeah, I think I
I
can
think it's
grab
still
the
with
screen
you.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think now it would work. Uh, so it is like the first thing is watch your numbers. I see so many people who just don't watch their numbers, right? This is very, very important. Second thing is start small, right? So take for example one campaign, one event, and just do it well, do good follow up, do good structure. Because the big mistake I see, people try to do 3 campaigns, 2 Wi-Fi millionaires, 21 steps, and then they run another business as well. So it's super easy to be losing the money that you're spending so hard on advertising. Third thing is, as I mentioned, follow up with the rest, right? So I show you the ratios as well that are there, like people who attended, people who didn't attend. What does that mean, follow up? It means connect. And how do we connect? We ask question. Hey, thank you very much for registering for the event. Like I can see that you attended the event. Do you mind me? I mean, how was the event? What did you like the most? Simple things like that, right? You've got their phone number. You can find them on WhatsApp. You can find them on Facebook. Some of them on Skype, and that will go a long way. That will really go a long way. And then slowly move towards automating and scaling up.
And Marcin, do you do the follow up yourself, or you have a team that calls the um, your leads, either they attend or they don't attend the IMF workshop?
So right now I don't. I'm training a person who is doing that for us. But also I want to say that like recently Mob has improved the game of follow up before the event. I don't know exactly what's the process after the event, but from what I heard before the event we've got 8 emails. So be careful not to overdo that. Right? There are 2 text messages, 2 SMSs, and there are 2 phone calls apparently. It's worth registering ourselves to our own leads to be able to see if that's accurate. But that's what I heard when I was checking out recently with Mob.
Okay.
So just also keep that in mind, because Matt does follow up quite heavily as well.
Right.
And obviously, if you have bigger volume, you can't do it, right? And at some point, you will be trading cash for volume. So you're gonna be letting go of some of those opportunities, because all of them, there are opportunities. Initially, when you work on a budget, you do whatever it takes, but later you just let go of some of them.
And can you clarify that further, Marcin? What do you mean by letting them go? Like you don't do the follow ups
Okay.
anymore, or
So, so for
how do you
example,
prioritize?
you have 100 registrations, right? We've got 20 people attending and 4 people buying, let's say, right? So here you've got 16 people who didn't attend. What can we do? We can SMS them, we can call them, we can send them a survey, we can do a couple of different things. Like initially, when you have, let's say, 20 leads or something like that, I would definitely go very, very personal. But later, if you have, like, for example, 700 leads, there's no way you can do a high degree of that, right? You just have to let go. You said, okay, I'm not calling them any longer. I'm gonna send them a webinar instead. Mob has in the back of his webinar for people who attended, didn't attend. I'm just gonna send it to them, and I'm done. I move on. But initially, you do whatever it takes. You take every opportunity to get them to become a customer.
Right. I see here a follow-up question from Arnell and Anne. Please give specific action items you did for leads that do not respond to your follow-ups.
Okay, cool. That's a great question, Arnel. So I've learned some time ago from one of my mentors also, marry the process, divorce the results, right? What it means, you create a process, and whatever the process is for you, it might be, for example, sending 3 emails, 2 texts, and 1 phone call, or depending on how generous you are, I mean, how much time you have, etc. But you might have, for example, later finding them on WhatsApp, finding them on Skype, finding them on Facebook, right? So the process can increase. But once you have done that, you move forward. So specific strategies would be these, right? So you email them, they do not respond. And guess what? Most people will not respond. I'm just going to show you something. So for example, this is my email that I have. This is well managed, more or less. I don't have many outstanding stuff here. But I have a second email. And let me log in here. And this email, I've got 6,441 emails unanswered. Do you think I'm going to find your email? No way, right? So if you are sending people to other people who have inboxes like that, the probability of them finding is pretty much non-existent. So that's why we got to be creative, right? We got to be creative. At the end of the day, it's about connecting with the right person. And remember, we are dealing here with high-ticket item. One sale changes everything. I remember when we got our very first platinum, $10,000 in a single day. I just couldn't believe. I was in shock for the first few minutes. Never made so much money. But we're dealing with high-ticket item. That's why it is worth to connect with few people. Not everyone, but with the few.
And then how do you have like a screening process on how you make sure that you only connect with the right people?
Okay, that's a great question. So I've learned that some time ago, this formula, market to masses, isolate the few, and sell, right? And the selling can take place in a couple of different ways. So market to masses, we can have here Facebook, YouTube, and lots of other stuff, right? Isolate the few. What would be a strategy of isolating the few? Somebody who fills out a survey, right? Not everyone will fill out a survey, but if people fill out a survey, that's a good prospect. Somebody who emails you back, somebody even who clicks, right? You're sending a broadcast, around 10% of the people open, and around 10% of the 10%, meaning 1% of people click. So these people, they are hot. They are hot prospects, right? So we're looking for a strategy to isolate a few.
Right. And once you've made that screening process, like isolating the few, that's when you make a more personal contact with them, like find them on Facebook or even call them, Marcin?
Yep, that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
If I see somebody who attended an event and didn't buy, that's a prospect. This person you're potentially talking to $10,000 or $20,000 sale. I can give you a real life example. There was a guy, I think I've got her somewhere on my slides. I'm right now working on slides that I'm preparing for Costa Rica, because I'll be recording a product there. But let me just show you. Her name is, she's from Australia. And I think I'm gonna find her somewhere here. Okay, I don't know. Where do we have her? So she's from Australia. Here you go. Her name is Taryn Bennett, a personal trainer. She attended IMF event and she didn't buy. She's like, not for me. And some people say, okay, cool, I can't do nothing about that. But I reached out to her and said, hey, how did you, I see that you attended the event, and what did you like the most? And I said, yeah, I like the concept, but no, I'm not gonna go for the workshop. I said, okay. And I asked her what she does, so she said personal trainer, etc. And then I finished with a question. If I can show you how to get the knowledge from the 3-day workshop for 10% of the price, and you have 30 days money back guarantee, what would you say? I said, yeah, I'll do it. How can I do it? I said, you can also work from home. You don't have to be 3 days in the workshop. Really? What's the 10% of 497? 49. She went through MTTB. Why going through MTTB? She was like, I like it. She went silver and titanium. And so how much was the conversation worth? $4,500. But that's not the end. Soon after, I mean, I taught her how to generate some leads, and she generated, I think, like 14 leads. Soon after, she had some personal situation. She wasn't able to continue with that business. I tried to convince her. I said, no, there's no way I can't continue. It's just too much stress right now in my situation. And I was really disappointed because I think that was our first titanium, and it was really hopeful for her, etc. But she said, like, no, I can't, Marcin, sorry, I can't. But a few months have passed, and I'm seeing I'm getting like around $700. That's a 5% of a titanium and a silver. Where is that from? I was thinking it's a mistake, but then I started searching deeper, and I quickly found that under her, one of the 14 leads went titanium. So how much was the conversation? It was over $5,000 already, but that's not the end. This guy's name is Carlos. He's one of the coaches in Mob right now. He started promoting the business, and he was titanium, and he was promoting. He generated quite a lot of leads for IMF, and one of his leads went silver, titanium, platinum, and a diamond. I got a 15K on the top of that. How much was that conversation? Already 20K. And that's not the end, because there's many more leads in the pipeline as well. People ask, does it make sense to follow up? It's up to you. It's really up to you. But I see it as an opportunity. So if you focus on isolating the few, there's power. There's really amazing power behind that.
Wow, very convincing example of the power follow-up, Marcin. Thanks for sharing that.
Pleasure.
I'll move on to the next question while folks are still thinking of the next question they want to ask you. Um, okay. So there's a follow-up question again from Arnell and Anne. What kind of survey do you send?
Okay, so the survey could be something very simple. Let me just show you. Let's log into my Drive. For some reason, Google Drive doesn't work that fast right now, but I can just show you. I mean, we don't have to get super techy. Okay, and here, one of the features in Google, just have to spare with me, is actually surveys. But I don't know if it's only me, but for the last 2 weeks, I'm having problem with my Google Drive, so we just have to wait a little bit. But that's one of the features, right? That you can create a simple survey, and in that survey, you just basically ask a few questions. Google Forms, I think that's how it's called, and it's super easy to create it. You can create it in virtually 5 minutes. What questions do you ask? Did you attend the event or not? Have you ever done internet marketing or not? Right. So let me just show you. Did you manage to attend the 2-hour event, right? Internet marketing event. And option 1, yes, I did. Option 2, no, I didn't. And okay, you see, it helps. And kind of go through that. And then, would you like to have a strategy call to understand the business? That's the final thing. And can I have your email, phone number, and Skype? And often I ask also for Facebook. And that's how simple it can be.
All right. So I hope that answered your question, Arnell and Anne. Keep those chat questions coming. We'll move on to the next question. Um, this is more situational. So, for example, you have leads, but your leads are not engaging with you on your email marketing. So, assume you're promoting the 21 steps, right? So, what would you recommend, us consultants or those that are still thinking of whether to move, become a consultant in Moog? What would you recommend to help us get our leads engaged in our email marketing? And the email marketing's objective is promoting the 21 steps.
Okay, so to understand no engaging, is it no open or no click?
Well, it could be, I think they're opening but not taking any action.
Okay, so that would mean that the copy is weak. So we have to improve the copy, right? So if we take an email and you've got a subject line, if you're having low open rate, then your subject sucks, right? So we have to improve the subject line. But if no one clicks, then the copy sucks. So we have to, because this is responsible for clicks. So we just have to improve what's written here and how we give a call to action. So I would recommend use bold, right? Bold call to action. Give it in 3 places. So for example, 1, 2, and PS, for example, 3. And you're gonna be getting clicks.
Okay.
Is that what you were looking for, or?
Yeah. I mean, something that's really practical and folks can easily implement once they go back and write their next email to their leads.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, that's definitely. Let me just also subject, like for example, list of most powerful headlines and image headlines, subject lines, subject. And I just want to show you a couple of really cool stuff. That just model. I mean, first of all, model from what works. So I will recommend, for example, look, I've got here Bill and Michelle, right? I've got Carolina Mian, I've got Chris and Susan, Cody, Matt Lloyd, and other things. I met Tony Robbins. Obviously, this is more a personal story, so I wouldn't use that. I hosted. So Carolina talks more about herself here, quite a lot of personal experiences, which is really cool, but it's kind of more harder to duplicate from that. Curious, are you in network marketing, right? It's a great question here. Is this goodbye, right? Should I unsubscribe you? I mean, they are quite aggressive here in terms of how they get attention, how they get people from people. You've been banned. I mean, I don't know if I will go that far, but that's what Bill and Michelle choose to do. Hey friend, is everything okay? The subject lines that are really there to jolt people. And so that would be one way of doing that. Second thing also is worth studying some of the really good subject lines. Best group on deals that make us proud. Feel free clothes, King, Art, Flower, time's going off. So there are some kind of really creative ones, but there are some also universal. I've written a blog post some time ago, 21 punchy, something like that, punchy headlines. Marczak, let's see if it comes up. No, there's some other Marczak. Okay, there's a guy who is a boxer, and he's very famous, and he's dominating on 21 punchy. Catchy titles, or maybe catchy titles. Catchy headlines. Titles, I think we have. Nope. Oh yeah, I think there is this one. And we can drop that here. Okay. So let me drop that link here so you guys, I mean, feel free to utilize that, but no, that's not what I'm looking for. This one, that's not the one. There was another one that had lots of stuff. That's not the one. But basically, there are some universal headlines that you can utilize and that marketers are using over. Like, for example, how to without, or how to with double benefits, like how to win friends and influence people. The lazy guide too, right? There are some universal stuff. But most of the good marketers, they are utilizing them. So if you follow good marketers, you'll be able to see that. Let's see. Jackpot. So that would be kind of more in relation to increasing the open rate, and the click rate is writing the better body.
Right. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's really very practical and something that, any one of us here in the call can easily implement. Do you
No
have
problem. Yeah.
any new questions on the chat window? No?
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hi. Oh, I can use Gil's microphone. Hi, Marcin. So good to listen and learn again so much from you.
Great to hear your voice.
I am always amazed at your story. I've heard it many times, and I just have a question about how you started. Um, like you came from being in debt and then going into MOB. What and how did you keep going and cross that border from being in debt to, and this is a mindset question, to being very successful in MOB?
Okay, so oh, by the way, we already completely paid off all our debts, so that was like really amazing. Like we celebrated, we became zillionaires, and that was like the happiest moment
Great
to be
story.
zillionaires. So I mean, that was really on my heart. I mean, I know you guys know that verse that says the borrower is a slave to the lender. This, when I read that, it honestly sliced something inside me, and it like extracted and separated, because for a very long time I considered debt to be something normal that everyone goes through and it's acceptable, etc. But after seeing that borrower is a slave to the lender, I've realized that I paid a huge price for that. And I remember being in Malaysia, and I haven't seen my brother for over a year, and he came traveling, he came to Asia, and we spent a few days in Kuala Lumpur together, and they say, hey, let's go with us to Penang. And I look at him, I can't. I say, hey, I haven't seen you for a long time, like, why don't we go together? Sorry, I can't. I just have to stay here, and I will see you when you come back. And I had to let go of that. And I paid such a big price just simply because I had so many credit cards, and I had to manage the minimum payments and debts and everything. And that really cost me a lot. And I know that we have probably people on a call here who are going through something very similar, that you accepted debt to be a normal thing, and you completely forgot that enslaved you. I work like half of the month, and I would encourage you to calculate that. Take all your minimum payments, add them together, and for example, let's say they come up to, let's say, 1,005 per month, right? US dollars. And if your salary is 3,000, then how much do you work? You work exactly half of the month for the lender. And that was a huge deal for me. And then to answer the question that you asked, like, how did you go through? I've learned some time ago also something that helped me a lot is be careful what you consume, because what you consume, it grows automatically. We don't know how, but it falls in and it grows. So I just want to share something. What do we consume? You can consume news. You can consume chit chats with some random people, etc. You can consume things what other people are whining, complaining, blaming, etc. You can consume good book, good webinars. You can consume some motivational stories. You can consume biography of people who have done it successfully, or you can consume also spiritual content and some other things that will help you out. And I remember at some point I felt prompted to cut out the news. Like even 2 days ago, I had a conversation with a student that we met in Jamaica, and he struggles to take his business off the ground. And I asked him, hey, do you watch news? I said, sure, I do. I said, that's the problem. I said, what do you mean? And very quickly we identified that he has fear, that he procrastinates. Procrastinate is a fear of taking action, right? It's a fear. Procrastination is a fear. He has a fear of rejection. He doesn't want to follow up because he has a fear of rejection. He's loaded with fear. How did that happen? Because he consumes things on a daily basis, and these things grow, right? Because that's what we have, a seed we consume. So this is a seed here, and we have a plus and a minus, right? Here in the middle is imagination. So be careful what you entertain, right? Because if you entertain, and if you entertain it in a positive way, it grows in a positive way. You see yourself successful. You see yourself paying off debts. You see yourself paying debts for your family members. You see yourself taking family on on holiday, right? It's a power of agreement. And here, it's exactly the same thing happens. You see people unsubscribing, you see people asking for refund, you see people doing bankruptcy. You know, they've done a study on psychologists, and psychologists said that successful athletes, they visualize the benefits of the success, the reward. They visualize, they see themselves standing and holding the gold medal and giving interviews, etc. And sometimes you can see athletes that are being asked, like there was this Conor McGregor being asked, how does that feel to be the first guy to have 2 belts in the UFC history? And the journalist expected that he's gonna give an answer like, oh yeah, I'm so humbled, he was so amazing and stuff. He looked at him and said, it looks familiar. I've been here. I've visualized that. I've seen that. And on the other side, you can do exactly the same. The study said that the losers, the winners, they visualize success, the reward of success, but losers, they visualize the penalty of failure. What it means, they see themselves, people laughing at them. They see themselves being embarrassed. They see themselves, being talked at start, and they making decisions they will never do it again. So be careful what you consume, because these things grow. This is a law. This is a natural law that consumption is extremely important. That's why I would encourage, for some people, cut off news. For others, I would recommend kill your Facebook wall. So for example, if I go on my Facebook, I had it for a few years, so there's a plugin, Kill Newsfeed. You can just install it on Chrome, it's completely for free. And you're not gonna see it. You just see the message, don't get distracted by Facebook, right? So I can log in here because I work from a messenger, but if I go to my homepage, I don't see any news feed. Why? The news feed is scientifically designed. They study casinos and gambling games, etc., in order to get an experience that reflects some of the gambling patterns, that people are hooked into repeating the experience over and over and over. So we have to be careful what you allow to be fed with. So I made a decision to feed myself with different things, right? With different things. And these things started growing, right? If you feed yourself and if you meditate on them, you guys know the law, because you utilize that, etc. If you know you meditate on those things, you visualize, you see those things in details, you come into agreement. You think about them, you speak about them, you visualize them, and you do them, right? The agreement of 4, because how can 2 work together unless they agree? And then things happen. It's just gonna happen. But for some people, they have to cut out what they consume, because there's no way, garbage in, garbage out, right? You can't have garbage in and amazing stuff out. It's just not gonna happen. Probably a little bit too passionate about it.
That's so powerful, Marcin. Thank you so much. That's the reason why we really enjoy seeing you at events and hanging out next to you, because you help us envision our success from the very beginning. I have another question, totally different. When people join MOB, some of our team members, sometimes they get bogged down by some things. I mean, like I'm very lucky that Gil is right here next to me, and we're so lucky that whatever I am terrible at, he is very good at, and whatever he doesn't like to do, I pick it up and do really well with it. So we're a really great team. But not everybody has that benefit of having somebody catch, whatever they're not good at. So what would you suggest for people who have, who get bogged down by anything, like maybe the inability to do technical things, to set up a web page or anything? What would your advice be?
So yeah, that's a great question, because this is absolutely true. There are so many people who are doing exactly that, right? The little things just freaks them out, and it kind of kicks them out of the pattern, and they are done. They just can't do it any longer. But it all comes down to like overcoming a couple of things, because like, especially when we deal with employees, and most people who come to this business, they have an employee background, and they are used to being a process focus. So they, work for 6 hours and I'm supposed to get paid. But here you can get 99% of things done and you're not going to get paid, right? We have to be result focused. So that's one thing. I like to reset the expectation and tell people that you got to get the results done. So that would be one of the things, just reset expectations. Second thing, I would also, I would just show you in my group, like, let me just show you in, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we
Is
can
my
see
screen
your
on?
screen. Yep.
Oh, you can, okay, cool. So in my group, I've got something called accountability partner. So I encourage people to cross find each other. Where is this? Cross find each other and find an accountability partner. As iron sharpens iron, so one woman sharpens another. And it's exactly that. And I explain exactly. Get together once a week, celebrate successes, be for each other, tell where are you in terms of, I'm a beginner, I'm an advanced, etc., etc. And I tell them to connect with people. And if somebody is not serious, change the accountability partner. Because at the end of the day, it's your time, your investment, your responsibility. So that would be one of the things that I would recommend to have. It's, at the end of the day, if they want to run a business, they will succeed. I mean, our job is obviously to create an environment in which that probability increases. And you're right, there are lots of people who have completely, I mean, number one, wrong expectations. Some people think that they're gonna get paid millions of dollars for watching videos, right? And that's what they expect after they bought the 21 steps. Is like, oh yeah, I started online business, I'm watching video. So these expectations have to be broken. Like, we have to break them, right? This expectation will never produce any results for them. So I would reset those expectations, and I would be very direct in terms of resetting the expectation. Next thing is accountability partner. Next thing is what you guys do here, like hanging out and connecting with other people. That's also something that is super helpful. Next thing else is also create an environment in which whining is not accepted, right? Somebody can ask a constructive question if it doesn't work, but whining is not accepted. I had a couple of people who just basically wanted to do that, and I very quickly brought that, turn it around. I challenge and I private message them later saying, listen, if you have an issue, come back to me and we can resolve that. But I don't want to have it in a group. Why? Because again, it's a law of magnifying. If you magnify that, there are lots of other people who are just waiting to jump into agreement with something that is negative, right? They are just waiting. Why? They don't have results. There is a percentage of people that are about to have a breakthrough, and if you allow that whining to happen, these people will kill that breakthrough across many people because they say, yeah, he is right. And what I prefer to show the results into they face, that there are so many people winning, getting results, that they have no choice but look into the mirror and say, it's me. It's not the system, it's not the sponsor, it's not the team, it's not anyone else, but it's me.
Right. Thanks, Marcin, for answering that, question.
No problem.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just looking at the clock. We have just about 2 minutes left. Before I ask the last question, I'd like to check with anyone on the call who wants to ask their question first. I mean, giving the opportunity to those who just called in. Any question that is burning from your side that you want answered because you want to make sure that you make those changes in your business. No? So let me ask this last question, Marcin. If there's one skill that is needed that you would recommend to develop so that one can become successful as an online business entrepreneur, what would that be, based on your experience and based on people you've interacted with in Mo?
Wow, that's a great question. One skill.
Yeah, one skill.
Okay. Definitely it's not ClickFunnels. Okay, so one of the things I've learned that from, I was actually in Singapore. When I was in Singapore, there was this guy who was teaching about the book writing course, and I'm just gonna share that. Like, you guys have something called sticky notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is? Like the yellow page, yellow little paper on which you post-it notes, right? So he gave this kind of piece of advice, and that piece of advice contains that skill. So he said every single day, and he said, I challenge you for 90 days to write list of your blessings and things that you'd like to have. And it cannot be done on a phone. It cannot be done, typing, but it has to be done manually. So you have to use your hand. And he said, you write things, for example, I'm successful in MOP, and things happen. I have amazing wife, great children, etc., etc. You write different things. He said one of the skills that he always includes is I manage. How did he phrase that? I'm great at seeing positive. He said that the plus minus skill, right? There's a plus minus skill. And again, this is like really sounds obvious, sounds simple, but if it's practiced daily, like, I mean, even today, I'm flying the day after tomorrow, we're flying to Costa Rica, and today I learned that I have to have completely new layout of my slides. I have like over 200, probably 50 slides. And I only today got the description of how they're supposed to happen. Initially, it freaked me out because I don't have time. I have so many things lined up and I just don't have time. And we're flying like the day after tomorrow. But then I was like, no, it's a great opportunity to raise my standards, to have my presentation at a different level and kind of unify that. And I just remember this skill of being able to see positive in negative, being able to see these options where other people don't. Like, this skill will take you very, very far. And to kind of finish with that note here, so this is a 90-day challenge, and I challenge everyone who is here on the webinar, do it for 90 days. But here's the trick: if you skip one day, you start from one, right? So if you finish one, so then you put two, you put it in your pocket and you carry it with you. Next day you write it again. Then next day you write it again, and then so on. And you try to hit 90 days. I lost to my wife so many times. It's even embarrassing to mention, but it's fun to play. It's really fun to play. Just simply because it puts you into that state of visualizing things that you want to have, of seeing, and making sure that these things that are important to you, that you remind yourself daily about them. And that's the skill that comes to my mind right now. I don't know why, but for sure there's smarter answer than that, but that's what I would like to share.
Thank you, Marcin. And I think to build on what you just said, right? Because I think when you do that for 90 days, you build a habit. And when you build a habit, something that you do, something to help you with your business, then I think that's a very powerful ritual that you will be doing on an everyday basis to move your business forward. So thank you for sharing that with us. And hopefully many of us will do this 90-day challenge on counting our blessings and putting it on Post-it.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for inviting me over, and I'm looking forward to hanging out whenever we meet. And I know you speak a lot in many places as well, so I'm sure our paths will cross very soon. So really looking forward to catching up.
All right.
Thank you so much, Marcin.
Thank you so much, Marcin. And thanks again for everyone who joined our mastermind. We have recorded this, so we'll post it in our Facebook group for everyone to review and apply the practical tips and strategies that Marcin has shared with us today. All right. Thank you, everyone, and God bless to all of your businesses. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Regards to Mary.
Thank you.